Well, for more reaction, we can speak live to a man who reached the Wimbledon quarterfinals on 3 separate occasions. Feliciano López joins us live from Madrid now. Good morning, Feliciano. Thanks so much for coming on. You're there in Spain. What have the celebrations been like in the 12 hours since Carlos's victory?
It's been a lot of celebrations here since yesterday when he won. You know how important it is to win Wimbledon at only 20 years old, and there's so many people here that, especially where he's from, in El Palmar, in Murcia. From what I've heard so far, it's been a long night there.
I imagine the celebrations are still ongoing as Carlos there lifts the Wimbledon trophy. Now, obviously Spain had Rafael Nadal. He's coming to the end of his career. How exciting is this for Spanish tennis fans to have this young man breaking through?
Well, as you can imagine, it's very rare to see someone like Carlos, winning titles at 20 years old, being able to really challenge Novak Djokovic at the finals yesterday at Wimbledon. So we are not a very powerful country in terms of sports, and I call it a little bit like a miracle because it's very rare to see someone like Carlos, especially the timing. When Rafa is about to finish his career. And then we have Carlitos, breaking through. It's really amazing for Spanish in general and for everyone because it's something very rare to see.
Feliciano, he's done so well so far, hasn't he, to deal with the comparisons with Rafa Nadal, because that's going to come throughout his whole career. He's always going to be held up against Nadal and his record. Do you think he'll continue to be able to cope with that?
I think he's very mature for his age. And the proof is how brave he was yesterday when the match was going through the most difficult times at the 5th set. He showed some braveness. He was convinced that he can do it. And as Novak said after in the press conference, I think Carlos, apart from his, tennis skills, abilities, everything that he has, his mental strength is something very impressive for a kid. He's only 20 years old, but he's, carrying a lot of pressure since he started playing professional tennis. The comparison with Nadal and with the big three is going to be always there. But he needs to be comfortable, carrying the pressure, and it's very impressive what he's done so far.
Yeah, it's incredible. Many people may not have heard of Alcaraz perhaps a year ago or even a couple of weeks ago. So just tell us a little bit about his journey to this point, if you can. Tennis has been his whole life, hasn't it?
Tennis is something big in his family. It's not only Carlos, his dad played tennis, then him, then also some of his brothers, they play tennis too. So yeah, his journey has been... It's been very fast. I think this is the most difficult thing for him to handle. He said that many times already, that everything is going very, very fast for him. The fact that he won Wimbledon yesterday at 20 years old, not many players did that in the past. So everything is going very fast. The journey has been great so far, and I wish him really the best because he's very well surrounded as well by Juan Carlos. I want to give a lot of credit also to Juan Carlos, because Juan Carlos, he was #1 player in the world. He won French Open. He was an amazing player. And since Carlos was a little kid, he's been dedicating his life also to Carlos to help him, accomplish everything in his career. And I want to say something also about that because nobody is talking about Juan Carlos lately. Of course, he's the main guy is Carlitos, and of course, all the credit to him as well. But I just want to say something about him because he's very impressive. And of course, I don't know what Carlos would have done, of course, without Juan Carlos on the side, but I'm sure he's been very helpful. And this is something also I want to say because he's very, very well surrounded by a great team.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Juan Carlos Ferrero and the effect he's had, because one of the interesting things is, obviously, Juan Carlos Ferrero was an accomplished clay court player, won Roland Garros. You played against him many times. But I think people are surprised at how quickly Carlos Alcaraz has adapted to grass courts. He's barely played even at less than 20 matches on grass. Is that down to Juan Carlos Ferrero, just how quickly he was able to adapt to grass?
Uh, Probably Juan Carlos was helpful, on that process, adapting to the grass, because the lack of matches from Carlos is a fact. Honestly, I remember doing his match at Queens this year, talking about the amount of matches that he has played on the grass, and he played only 6 matches before Queens, and then he ended up winning Queens and Wimbledon back to back. So, of course, all the credit to Carlos, because this is one of the skills that he has, the capacity and the ability to adapt very quickly to any surface he's playing. But I'm sure Juan Carlos has been also very helpful during that process.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Novak Djokovic said after the Wimbledon final that Alcaraz's game has bits of Federer, Nadal and his own in it. That is some statement. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. It is true that Carlitos has a little bit of all of them. He has the mental strength from Rafa, the physical condition from Rafa and Nole, the tennis skills. I see similarities with Roger on the anticipation, on many other things, but it's a very strong statement, I have to say that Carlitos has a little bit of a little bit of the skills that the big three they have. But I do agree. But of course we have to wait. Only time will tell how many slams and titles he can win. But I think it's a real blessing for tennis to have someone like him, because I think the way he plays also is very different than the majority of the players out there. And this is something that we all have to enjoy. So as far as he's there, we only have to sit down and enjoy the way he plays.
Yeah, that's very right, Feliciano. You said he was very mature. It's all happening so quickly for Alcaraz, considering his age. We saw him in the interview with his bucket hat on. He seems
I love
like
that bucket hat.
Pretty cool dude. Everyone likes the bucket hat. What's he like off the court?
He's just a nice kid. I mean, he's really living the dream. It's very difficult to be in his position right now and to be handling a lot of pressure that he's been handling lately. But he's just a nice kid doing what he loves. He loves playing tennis. Every time he's playing, we can see how he's enjoying out there. He's putting a lot of smiles when he plays. So I don't know how far he can get, but it's very difficult to get that far at this age, because it's only 20 years old. So as I said before, we are living a situation that is very rare, and as a tennis fan, you can only enjoy. And just wish him the best, because he's giving us a lot of joy, and it's very nice to see Carlitos playing.
Yeah, definitely. He seems like such a humble and such a likeable kid. Feliciano, I'm going to put you on the spot now. You mentioned only time will tell about how good this guy can be. How many Grand Slams do you think he could win in his career? Could he be the greatest ever?
I've been playing on this, generation against the big three, and I would say the big four, because I consider Andy Murray also one of the greatest. He was just very unlucky to be competing, against the big three. But I also consider Andy one of the greatest players in our sport. But well, that's a difficult question, because if I take everything that he's done already, I can fairly say that he could be one of the greatest. But on the other hand, it's very early to say. So what about 15 Grand Slams? How does it sound?
Well, I'm sure he'd be happy with that. I think if you offered me or anyone 15 Grand Slams at the start of their career, they'd take it. Feliciano, great stuff. Thanks so much for joining us here on Sky Sports News. We'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you, guys.
Well, it's the US Open next month, where Alcaraz is the defending champion. He could get to number 3, couldn't he? Only 12 more to go if we're to get to Feliciano's number. You can see the whole tournament exclusively live on Sky Sports.